Go.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we focused on money. So we did topic of measurement, we focused on money. So. Okay. Why is money important to teach? Okay. Money is used all around the world and is a payment for goods and services. Instilling the importance and knowledge of money will provide a solid foundation for good habits and attitudes about money in the future. During this presentation, we will describe the history of money, we will discuss teaching ideas, and engage in a hands-on activity. We will discuss the instructional methods used and methods for assessing students' understanding. So the history of money. Teaching students about the history of money can turn into a social studies lesson, as we mentioned before. So since you would be combining math and social studies, it would be an interdisciplinary lesson, and you can talk about the presidents on the coins, as well as the historic buildings. So the history of money dates back to the times before we had an actual currency. And the first known form of exchange of goods and services was actually bartering, like we spoke about with the cattle. And so the problem was, how do you measure, for instance, how much corn a knife is worth? And this form of exchange became difficult because it wasn't easy to figure out and agree upon a specific value between certain things. The history continued. No one knows for sure who the first people to use coins to represent value were. Some believe it was the Sumerians who were the first ancient civilization to use coins. Others believe the first coins came from either ancient Rome, Egypt, or Greece. But the first civilization to use gold in coins was the Kingdom of Lydia. They formulated a mixture of silver and gold called electrum. The gold coin then became the most valuable because of its rarity. So now we have just some examples of ancient coins from Egypt, Greece, Rome, and you can see that all of the coins depict some type of symbol. So for instance, we see on the Roman coin, we have Julius Caesar, an example of a great leader, power, represents power, just like the lion, represented power for Lydia. And you can notice how all of this one is a really gold one that has gold in it. And China was invented the earliest form of paper money as a result of not having enough supplies of metal for making coins. The idea of paper money actually was brought to Europe by Marco Polo after he returned from China in 1295. But it took Europe another 400 years until they started to make paper money. And this is an example of the first paper money that China made. So we have the American dollar. After colonies defeated the British in the Revolutionary War, our founding fathers wanted to create a united currency system. And Thomas Jefferson was the first to propose how that new currency should be established. So some of his ideas were that coins should be in tens, the system should be based on the decimal method, and it should be mathematically simple. Just continued. Yep. In the early 1800s, the first coins used in America were called eagles. And in 1861, the government printed the first paper money called greenbacks. Notice the similarity, kind of how our dollars look not the same, but they kind of resemble it. So on to what we use now. The United States now uses four major coins, as four major coin measurements, and 5 paper dollar measurements. So we have the penny, the nickel, dime, and the quarter, $1 bill, $5, $10, $50, $20, $50, and $100 bill. So through rapidly changing technology, as we know, paying with credit cards and debit cards has begun to supplement these paper and coin transactions. And it's estimated that by 2020, electronic exchanges may represent more than half of these transactions. There is also the half dollar,
quarter kind of
So
thing.
yeah, you should.
And there's $1, which you kind of get, like when you go on the train, it gives you back like $1 and a coin because, you know, easy.
So I mean, you can express to your students, you know, definitely important to bring up the $50 and teach them about it and express that it's it stopped being produced because it was less convenient. And same for also if the $2 bill, I don't know if you can bring that up as well when you're teaching this type of lesson. It's also it was stopped being produced, I believe, in like 2000 or something like that. So.
Alright. So counting money in various grades. The concept of money begins in the lower grades as they begin to acquire knowledge of place values such as the ones in the tens place. And by first grade, children should be able to recognize and identify coins, their names, and their value. By second grade, children should be able to solve word problems involving dollar bills, quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, using dollar symbols and coin symbols appropriately. And as children develop these concepts in the early grades, at the higher grade levels, children should be able to solve more complex word problems involving greater amounts of money, while applying them to their daily lives in the real world.
So we have an interactive activity now. So does anyone want to come up and try it? It's easy.
It's fun. It works.
No?
I love them right here.
Thank you.
Do you actually go here or should it?
I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see. Maybe you should go there. Yeah. So it's basically, do you have enough money? And you have to figure out, they give you an item with a price tag, and you have to figure out, based on the coins, if you can purchase it or not.
When you purchase item.
You have to press start.
Yeah. 25 50. 75
So just so you can get an idea, we have the Common Core standard for second grade to solve word problems. To solve word problems involving dollar bills, quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies using what Kelly just said, the money and cent symbol. So for example, if you have 2 dimes, 3 pennies, how many cents do you have altogether? Kind of ties into just using that interactive game. You need to know how much is altogether to figure out if you...
And on this website, there's also like 10 other money games too for learning money. This was just one of the examples. This is like an introductory sort of website because it's pretty simple.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the hands-on activity. So if you turn to the back of the packet, to the first worksheet that's attached. Oh no, the first one, yeah. So,
I think you don't have the packet.
I didn't. Oh, sorry. Thank you. You want to grab some? Because it's like hot.